including Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority, who's been with us from the time USC UCLA popped and we had him on the show. And thank goodness we did, because he has been money. Jason, it appeared about 5, 6, 7 hours ago that the Pac-12 would survive. They would be the Undertaker, rise out of the grave or the coffin. Was that real smoke, or was that the last chance to try to save the conference?
It was completely orchestrated by Oregon and Washington. The narrative that no one wanted to be the one to kill the conference was very real. It didn't necessarily mean that the conference was going to stay alive, but it was real. And basically, Oregon, Washington, and Arizona and ASU, to an extent, had discussions. Oregon and Washington basically said, look, we want to go to the Big Ten. We'll be the ones to, quote-unquote, kill the conference. It was never going – Washington and Oregon were never going to agree to the Apple deal. It was not able to be improved in any way since the last meeting. And because of that, Oregon and Washington informed the conference that they would be leaving, and that was that.
So, Jason, where does this leave everyone else that has options right now? Arizona, Arizona State, Utah. Will those announcements come together, or will they peace out?
Yeah, that one I'm not sure of. I'm still following up a little bit on that. The last I heard, which was about 20 minutes ago, the plan, and this stuff is always fluid, but the plan for Arizona is to announce it tomorrow. The belief is that Arizona will make it official tomorrow. I don't know if that'll be ASU and Utah together. That's probably the goal, I would assume, and my guess is trying to finalize all of that right now as we speak. But I know that the goal is at the least Arizona is announced tomorrow.
Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority, then making sure we get the information, the latest from Arizona, which probably was delayed a little bit because of some of the drama from earlier today. So I saw your tweet when I woke up this morning very early about the shenanigans of President Crow at Arizona State. What did he say? What happened?
Yeah, he's basically just really, really stubborn. And I'm not, like, exaggerating. He does not value athletics. And so this is all, like, a different world to him. And he's very short-minded and narrow-minded when it comes to athletics. This is the guy that, supported Larry Scott to the very end. And so he was saying, I want to make sure I have all the details. I need to go back and listen to the Pac-12. And what about Oregon and Washington? And I got to wait until the Pac-12 just doesn't have any more options left, even though there's actual board members that were telling him, hey, look, it's pretty clear the Big 12 is the best place for you guys. So he was just kind of muddying up the waters and dragging the process. And it became, I don't want to say combative, but he did not do himself any favors during the Board of Regents meeting last night.
Do you think he will make it out of this?
Yeah, I mean, I assume he will because, it's one of these things where at the end of the day, he's going to wind up making what is the clear right decision. And the process may not have been great, but I would be very surprised if ASU isn't in the Big 12, by early next week. And so it's going to look like from the outside he made the right decision and all that and got ASU. It just was a different process. But he's a guy where, it just athletically, it's not a value to him. It just isn't. And he doesn't really listen to other people around him. And to ASU's credit, the people around Crow have become very vocal over the past 48, 72 hours and kind of helped steer the ship and kind of allowed him or forced him to look at the bigger picture.
All right, Jason, I know first of all, thanks for being a part of it. We've got a couple of questions. He's out, by the way, helping get back to school supplies. Is that right, Jason? You're out in the middle of all that madness getting ready for that?
I got that later. I'm coming home from Arizona at its first open football practice today.
Okay.
So, great time.
Very good time.
So Jason's going to Target today. Have fun.
Jason, would you put in order 1, 2, and 3, those further ahead in the process? Arizona, as you mentioned, you're expecting them to announce today. That could have come today, but there was drama. Arizona 1. I'm told Utah is further along than people think. And then Arizona State, they'll be dragged through the coals at 3.
I would agree with that. I think Utah, although their ideal situation this entire time has been to stay in the Pac-12. Mark Harlan is a very good athletic director. They have a very good school president, Randall, as well. They realized this situation. They realized it since Monday, and the tide for them turned much quicker than it did for ASU. I mean, look, it would have surprised me if they just announced this whole thing together. I think that's probably the ideal situation. But I think Arizona is very clearly the furthest. I mean, they're it. They just pretty much haven't announced it yet. ASU and Utah are a little behind, but I would expect by the end of the day for everything to get finalized.
So if they do a package deal, that'd be great, unless they want to do it one day at a time. That whatever, as long as they were to get to 1, 2, or 3 to put the conference. Did you expect Oregon and Washington this quickly, or was that in reaction that they knew they themselves better get to the table with the Big Ten saying, okay, we'll talk, but the window is very small?
I heard 2 days ago, we reported on the website, I had heard that it was pretty much done, that the Big Ten had moved very quickly once the Pac-12 deal wasn't there, and it was clear that it wasn't there. The Big Ten moved very quickly. The conversations were happening. That Washington board meeting, the executive session was extended by like 45 minutes, and it kept going longer than it was supposed to. So something was very clearly up. And then once this morning, I heard that they had scheduled a very quick Big Ten call within the conference. I knew it was over. It came together quickly, to their credit. But if the Big Ten came calling, I don't buy for a second that Washington and Oregon would ever have said no to the Big Ten unless it was just a ridiculously low amount. And it was never going to be.
Jason Scheer, Wildcat Authority, covers Arizona, but by God, he covers the Pac-12, and he's done it well and about to be a part of the Big 12 here very soon. Paul?
Jason, yeah, I think the thing that was most confusing to me is how, like, the money wasn't going to change from Tuesday to Friday on this Apple deal. So the only thing that would have saved the conference is just pride in the Pac-12, which, as we know, has no monetary value. So was this essentially Oregon and Washington just using that opportunity to say, like, look, we've got you all here. We might as well just tell you. Yeah, pretty much. I think there was a hope from the Oregon states and Washington states that there was more of a linear concept that somehow George found and within the last 4 days or so, that maybe it wouldn't increase the money, but it would increase the visibility. And, it's the pride of the Pac-12. But Oregon and Washington went in this morning's meeting with absolutely no intention of signing a grant of rights. And I was told beforehand it was very unlikely. And at first, one of the pieces of information was there was no way that those two schools were going to sign anything with an exit fee. And so that right there, when I heard that first early this morning, I was like, well, then they're not signing because you have to have an exit fee. And then little shortly after it leaked that they weren't signing, there was no, I know for a fact, Arizona did not anticipate signing anything this morning. It would have been shocking if anything was signed. So I think Oregon and Washington used the opportunity. There's word that there's another Pac-12 meeting coming up later this afternoon. And my guess is that'll be when Arizona State, Utah, and Arizona say goodbye as well.
Jason, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. There's still more to come. We appreciate your time and what you've done, the chat room and everybody I've talked to in recent months and also throughout the last few days. Can't thank you enough for your coverage. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys and appreciate it.
All right, we've just had an added guest, Paul.